Nobody really cares who you are or what you've gone through until you start to win. And this is just the unfortunate truth. It just is what it is. And I'm not here to tickle anybody's ears. I like to give it to you straight, and I like to give it to you just the way that I see it. And people will remember you. They will remember you, especially if you go silent on them. They'll start to remember, what was this person like? Who were they about? Why were they the way that they are? Man, that person was really loyal. That guy was really loyal, or that guy was a good friend, or that girl was, man, she really knew how to make everybody feel comfortable and nurturing and everything. Like, this is the kind of thoughts. It may not be those words exactly, but the feelings that are associated with that kind of context are going to be manifesting in their minds after a while, because people will remember a lot of different things in life. But the greatest thing that you can have somebody remember you by is by the way that you made them feel and by the way that they make you feel. If they make you feel like you're unheard, you're unsafe, you're unseen, like, think about this, right? I just saw this video of this like psychologist guy. I'm pretty sure it was a psychologist. And what he was saying was very psychological and sound from my perspective. He was saying how the best way to understand if a parent is parenting right is if they are not wanting to be famous. And I thought, why is that? I paused the video and I thought, what is why would I think that that would be the case, true or false? Let me take a philosophical hammer to this. Okay, and then I pressed play again and I listened to what he had to say after that. And he said that basically the person that doesn't need to be famous or want to be famous is getting their validation from inside. They don't need it externally anymore. They need it and they want it inside. They don't need to have so many different kinds of people and strangers validate them. But a person that is safe in themselves, that is comfortable in their own skin, it's going to be somebody that they are only going to need a few people. Like, they don't need the world. They just need a few people that make them feel seen and heard and valued and appreciated and respected, because respect is a very important thing. And if you can't have those things, those qualities that are lining up with who you are and what you're about, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually want to be engaging with these other people. Why would you want to be around people that don't respect themselves or respect you? And I was thinking a lot about this as well. It was like, if somebody doesn't respect you, then they either don't love you or they don't love themselves. And you as a godly person, if you're watching this and you are a godly person, you follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, you understand that you're going to be pissing off a lot of different kinds of people out there. And the only thing that you can really do is to show compassion. And I'm not saying that if you're in a fight, you need to just turn into this jelly monster and just turn into, maybe you're not even a jelly monster. You're like a jelly. I don't know why this came to my head. I was thinking like a jelly hippo, like a jelly hippo, like a little jelly baby hippo. You're just a weird kind of fat, cuddly thing that anybody can stomp on. A jelly hippo. Oh man. But still, like, that's how it's going to be. But they'll remember your loyalty. They'll remember the way that you made them feel with your loyalty. And when you no longer give that, that's when things start to go awry. But you have to learn from these mistakes. You got to learn from this. And what I say and what I encourage is the maximizing of positive emotions and the minimizing of unnecessary negative emotions. Well, what exactly does that mean? Why is that important? Well, because if you maximize positive emotions, then you're automatically going to attract that kind of frequency in your life. You're automatically going to attract those kinds of people in your life. And the frequency that you project comes from just your internal energy. Have you ever noticed, like, think about this, right? With a nice guy versus a kind man. A nice guy, he is more so naive and excessive in his naivete. Whereas a kind man, he's more the kind of person where he can afford to be gentle. He can afford to have a mind that is pure and sacred, but doesn't let people just step on him for no reason. He has boundaries. And in fact, the more you place those kinds of boundaries, and the more that you have those kinds of boundaries, then what's going to happen is that if you can match your verbal boundaries with your internal boundaries, you're going to attract those kinds of people that are matching their internal boundaries with what their verbal boundaries are. You'll hear a lot of people talk about their verbal boundaries, but that's just all that it is. It's just a verbal boundary. They're not internalizing it. And in order for you to formulate the boundary, you have to allow yourself to internally formulate that and to endure with that. Because sometimes the person who doesn't need to talk but just displays boundaries appropriately and congruently, that's going to be the way that's going to be a person that nobody wants to really trifle with, because they know that even though this person is kind, let's say the kind man, for example, even though the kind man is kind, he's very much capable of being dangerous. And if you're not capable of being dangerous as a man, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually yearn to be the man that God made you to be. And I say that because you have to incorporate your shadow. Anybody that is not familiar with Jungian archetypes or Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, there's a lot of misconceptions about him. But the reason why he's so controversial, this is what happens to every awakened person. Okay, think about every awakened person that you've ever met. They never inspire indifference. They always inspire some kind of emotion in people. And why is that? It's because they are alive. They're alive. How can they not inspire emotion? It doesn't matter what kind of emotion it is. It's just because, some people, you're around them and you're just like, man, what a freaking blech. Like, I don't even know what to call that. That's like literally a robot. That is literally an NPC. And I don't like using that term in a derogatory way, but I'm just saying, like, some of these people out here really do act like NPCs. They really do. And you can tell that they're just going through a program. They're just going through a system. In fact, like, even today, I swear that how do I say this appropriately? I'm pretty positive that I just destroyed a part of the matrix without even meaning to. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I will not go into the details in this video, perhaps, but what I will say is that if you just follow in the will of God and you just say what you mean and mean what you say, as a man specifically, I would like to see more women doing that, because there are women out there that do what they or say they're going to do and mean what they say and say what they mean, but there's very few of them, right? There's very few in the modern day, but it's because of that need that they have internally to be seen and be heard. They're so used to the entitlement of other people just validating them all the time that they've never had to earn it. They never had to earn something. And now that they're earning things, ooh, I mean, now women have, like, the women that want to earn something from the man, because the man is supposed to be giving something to the woman, right? A woman that has to earn something from a man, she's going to be remembering that kind of man for the rest of her life. And the woman that is able to stand firm in her boundaries and be capable of saying no if she means no, she's not just saying that just to say that because of the Me Too crap. She's actually saying no and meaning no. She's not like going to try to switch things up down the line. This is actually a good, solid woman with values and principles. That kind of woman, a man's going to remember that kind of woman for the rest of his life, especially if the man couldn't live up to that. If the man couldn't live up to that, he's going to remember that. He's going to remember it forever. But this is why it's so important for you to analyze the situations at hand and to live what is in accordance to God's will. Now, when I say analyze the situations at hand, I don't mean overthink. Okay, don't overthink about a lot of this stuff, but you have to strategize. Simply ask yourself, if I were to do this, then what would happen here? If I were to do that, then what would happen here? And then follow the line and the time continuum in each of those possibilities and see which outcome that you would prefer on the other side, and then make your decision accordingly. Okay, that's something that I learned that from board games. I learned that from this is what like board games, for example, are a great tool. I genuinely think that playing board games really saved my life in some ways because it showed me how to strategize. Anybody play Stratego or anybody play Risk? And there was also another game that kind of like combined Stratego and Risk together with Game of Thrones. There was this like Game of Thrones board game, and I still have the board game actually, but like to play it, it takes 3 or 4 hours of playtime. It's a legit like event, right? And you got to have a certain kind of person to be playing those games, and they have to be willing to do so. And it does seem kind of nerdy, right? It definitely seems kind of nerdy, and it kind of is, to be fair. But man, I loved those games because, man, you were able to really learn what it's like to strategize and to think ahead. And the people that took it sincerely without taking it seriously, those were the most fun people to play with because they were just, man, I remember this one time we were playing the Game of Thrones game, and it's anybody that's seen Game of Thrones, there's 6 main I guess you could say kingdoms in the 7 kingdoms, and the 7th kingdom is actually the main kingdom itself that represents the other 6. But anyway, there are 6 main kingdoms in the board game for the Game of Thrones game, and so where was I? There was like some really wild stuff happening outside, so there it is again. I hope you guys don't hear that, but they've got like some kind of construction going. But anyway, the board game itself is divided into like 6 kingdoms, right? So there can be up to 6 players. And I remember this one time where we were playing this board game, and it was super intense. Like it was like brutal. The most fun you can have in that kind of game is where it's a super savage kind of style, but it also takes a lot of strategy. But it's also a little bit of luck too. It's the perfect rendition of life, really, because in life you need a little bit of luck sometimes. But if you have the thought algorithm of I am lucky, then it's not really a problem. But because some people will say, "Oh, I'm not lucky. Oh, I'm not this. It's like, well, let's say this. If you had to choose between you saying to yourself, I'm lucky or I'm not lucky, what would you choose? I'm lucky, right? So then why are you telling yourself, let's say that manifestation isn't real. Let's just say that for the sake of this purpose, right? Why would you even want to say, even if manifestation wasn't real, why would you want to say I'm not lucky to yourself? That's a great way to lower your self-esteem. Like, I'm not saying that I believe in luck. I'm just saying that this is a thought algorithm for somebody out there that wants to help themselves understand what the meaning of luck really can be and the meaning of manifestation can be. But anyway, so playing the game, and it was getting to this intense part, and you have to make alliances that are kind of loose alliances, right? Because somebody's going to have to sabotage the other sooner or later. But you've got to do it strategically because it's a board game, right? It's a game. But I was always the best at that game because I was always playing to win. I always played to win. I never played not to lose. And that's how I learned how to play the game of life. I learned that if I want to win in the game of life, I have to play to win. I have to play to win. And guess what? People remember the people that play to win. They do. They do. And so when I was able to recognize, like, oh, I need to play to win. I want to play the game of life. I understand this game. I understand this reality. It is elusive, but it's also very real. And I can bend reality to my will insofar as it is in accordance to the Father's will. Let's play. Let's play. And these are the kinds of people that will be remembered. Okay? So with all that being said, I hope that this message was useful and insightful for you. I did just announce in the YouTube community that I have, we have the free 15-minute calls for the Regal Change Academy introduction with one of the team members on Regal Change Academy. And this is going to be, if you just want to see, you don't want to quite join just yet, but you feel inclined to, and you feel in your spirit to be called to do this and to join this community, this is going to be a great opportunity for you. All that it's going to cost is your time, 15 minutes, because it's going to be a free service for you to see if we're a good fit together and we're compatible together. And then also, I'm only doing one of two different kinds of one-on-one mentorships right now. I'm doing a Godlike Mastery Initiation program, which is something that you need the time and the resources and the financial stability to do this, because it's going to be a total upheaval of your life. And then we have the general one-on-one consultations as well. All of those links from the description box below, you can check those out. And then also, I do appreciate everybody tuning in, dropping a like, a comment, a follow if you're watching this on X. And with all that being said, peace be with you all. Until next time.